Welcome back to more Summoners War Monster Strategies. Okay, so this series is now going to undergo a rather big change, simply because a lot of you guys have been asking me to not only talk about the useful monsters, like the very useful monsters, but actually to talk about pretty much every single monster in the game individually, even if that monster sucks. So it's going to be kind of interesting, but yes, I will eventually get through every single monster. So I decided to actually do them in order, because I began with Shannon. I'm going to do all the pixies first, and then all the other 2 stars eventually. But this series is not going to be, it's going to be going daily now, or maybe even 2 uploads a day, so just a heads up. Also, I'm going to be organizing the playlist to be in order of the monsters, so you know, Shannon first, and then Kacey right here, the Water Pixie, sorry. So, even though I already did Rahok, Vertihile, and one other monster, which I just forgot right now, even though I did them, oh, Bernard, that's right. I'm going to go ahead and reorganize it in a different order, not exactly the way that I did the videos on, so just organizing the playlist. But anyway, here we go. This is going to be the Water Pixie Kacey. So everybody already knows that the Wind Pixie Shannon is the best pixie in the game, for obvious reasons, and if you want to know why, go ahead and check out that video, the Shannon video. Kacey, on the other hand, not so useful. Actually, pretty much every other pixie who is not Shannon is not extremely useful. They're really not. They have a lot of problems, and overall, they're only used for beginners, so you don't see much of them. Here we go. Kacey has 9,225 HP, and attack strength of 549, a defense power of 483, and a speed of 111, just like all pixies for speed. So as you can see, the stats are not impressive. Yes, the HP is about 2,000 points higher than Shannon, but the defense is lower than Shannon, so they kind of balance out and not being great in terms of stats. Speed is pretty impressive though, that is. But now let's talk about her skills, because in order to talk about the runes, we gotta talk about the skills. So the first one, well, this is the same move that every pixie has, just like how every monster, you know, of all 5 elements has the same exact first skill. Spirit Ball attacks the enemy with an energy ball. The attack has a 50% chance of increasing the enemy's chance to land a glancing hit for 2 turns. The second skill is actually the same one as Shannon as well. That is, attacks all enemies, decreasing their attack speed for 2 turns with an 80% chance on each target, reusable in 4 turns, but you know, eventually in 3 turns. And the third skill would be Shooting Star. Summons shooting stars that attack all enemies randomly. The inflicted damage increases if the same target gets hit again. Okay, so as you can see, the problem with Kacey is that, well, she has debuffing attacks like Shannon, the first 2 skills, but the third one is not a support attack. Instead, it is an offensive attack. That's the problem. You can't use a pixie with these stats that are too low as a hybrid. It's just not good. But what I do recommend for her runes would be this, and again, when I say this, I mean only early in the game, and even if you are kind of forced to use her, but really, I would say avoid using her. But if you absolutely have to, these are the runes. Here we go. Despair or Swift with Focus. Now, the reason why you might want to use Despair is, well, you know, she has an attack that hits all enemies, Decelerate, and she also has the Shooting Star attack, which can attack all enemies randomly, and I didn't mention this, but that attack does 4 hits. It does 4 random hits, even though it doesn't say in the actual move. It does 4 random hits. So because of that, you could make it like, you know, kind of a funny monster and all the stunning, you know, from the second skill and the third skill, a lot of stunning with Despair. And Focus would of course be to buff up the chance of, you know, the first and second skills landing with their debuffs. As far as the slots go, I would say try and make her fast, you know, speed. Like I said, you could use Swift and Speed for lightning fast, but Speed for, you know, slot 2, slot 4, HP, because, you know, she's a pixie, she needs some damn, you know, tankiness, at least a bit. And then her third skill would be either Accuracy or HP, but most likely Accuracy. I mean, I guess for slot 2 you could also use HP if you don't want to use too much speed and by only using Swift. But her uses are, well, here's the other problem. Her uses are to stun a lot if you use Despair because of her, you know, a lot of attacks that she can do. Or she can also be used for the Necropolis. Now here's the problem. The reason why I say Necropolis is because her second skill can slow down the enemy, which is good, you want to do that in Necropolis. And her third skill can attack 4 times, which can break the shield of the Ancient Lich King. Here's the problem. If you do that, you don't want to use Despair, because the stunning is going to be useless. There's no point in using Despair, and I mean, honestly, to get to the Lich is not extremely hard. You know, you're not going to be using all the stuns. There's other monsters you can use for Despairing instead. But, the point is that she can't do both. If you use her for Necropolis, though, the next problem is, well, if you use Swift and Speed, it's not really beneficial, because as you already know, the Necropolis battle, the Ancient Lich King, there is a speed cap. So if you use Swift and a speed on slot 2, you're kind of wasting some speed. So you don't want to do that. You also don't want to use Despair for the most part, because again, you can't stun the boss, so there's no need for, you know, all the stunning. And even though her skill sets, like I said, are kind of accustomed to the Necropolis because of Decelerate and the Shooting Star move, it's kind of hard to rune her correctly. You can't use Speed, you can't use Despair. What are you going to do? Make her really tanky? I guess you could do all energy, although like I said, the most common sets that I've seen, and when I say seen, I don't mean like in the meta game at all, no, I mean like for beginner usage, you know? So, overall, she is tricky to use because she's not that great, and you know, she excels on the Necropolis, but even with that, her runes are not great. But anyways, kind of repeating myself, so, with that being said, here's my overall conclusion. Kacey is not a good monster. She's not. If you have to use a Pixie early on, I guess you can use her if you're a beginner, because again, this series is most likely for beginners who don't know a lot about the game, a lot about the rune setups. But overall, once you start getting some more useful monsters, especially once you get Shannon, who works very similarly for skill 1 and 2, with Despair as well, once you get Shannon, don't use her, and honestly, it's quite easy to get Shannon because she's a 2-star monster. But there is one more thing. Kacey is actually a fusion monster. So, because of that, you know, you might want to keep her, make her a 4-star level 30, and then, you know, just keep her in your storage until one day you get all the monsters for the fusion. But that's pretty much my entire review of Kacey. Like I said, not an exceptional monster, actually not a great monster at all. So, that's it. But even though I left my own review, like I always say, like I always mention in this series, go ahead and leave some comments of your own if you've used Kacey to some success. You know, leave some rune setups that you use so that other people who watch this video can go to the comments and be like, oh, maybe I can try this setup if you have a different one than what I put. So, thank you for watching, goodbye everybody, and as always, until next time.